BlackSky is one of the top space tech companies for AI-enabled satellites. AI-enabled satellites, how does that make sense? What's going on, guys? It's Will Rich. Hopefully you're having a great day today. In this video, we're going to go over BlackSky stock, start a little bit with the targets, where we're at with the company, and then some overview of the market. So there's three things we look at when identifying a stock. And the first thing we're going to look at is the market. So when we're looking at their market, they are in space tech and they are in satellite launching. They have, as of recently, about 400 employees. That number's grown a little bit. Their revenue is about $30 million per quarter, and their market cap is under $1 billion at $644 million. Why are they a play that would make a lot of sense? Well, while the market cap's pretty small, they've seen revenue increases getting into that $30 million per quarter. Annual revenues have been increasing. So now we're kind of in the financial stage. The financials look like increasing revenue year over year, net income down a tad bit, but balance sheet also looks pretty disciplined as their assets have been rising to over a billion, with their total liabilities at 196. So pretty disciplined. They're seeing increases for the most part in their assets, and liabilities are staying low. Liabilities did jump a little bit there, but overall looking good. Now, why are we following them? Well, one thing we noticed, and what got us into them around $16 or $17 a share back here, was that we really liked the development of their Gen 3 satellites. So they have these satellites that are AI enabled. So we're going to pull them up here. And in a world where most space companies might be on like fuel or launching their rockets, or maybe just internet satellites, which are quite common, the AI enabled satellites are going to be most likely the leaders in the technology space for the AI side of things. Now it looks like the internet's not quite working here. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need to switch. Oh, I was on T-Mobile. I got to get on the Starlink here. The Starlink satellite. There we go. And you can see that their satellites are picking up different boats in the ocean. You can see that boat. Not only that, they're able to pick up, tankers and things like that. They've had a lot of really good news coming out with contracts that they're getting from the Navy, contracts with Latin American Defense Intelligence. They are working with the Department of Defense. They've been raising some money here and there, but really what we've seen, Gen 2, Gen 3 in support of Ukraine there. You got NGA Luno, a facility operational monitoring delivery order valued at $24 million. And this was just really in the last few weeks, few months. And so they're getting $30 million contracts. We could see their revenue spike to that $50 million price point potentially, or maybe $35 million price point in their next earnings, which would be a really big jump for them. Now, as we're looking at what they do, they have these Gen 3 satellites that they launch, and they are for air traffic. They're for cars, for maybe even people, as they do heat signatures. And it's all AI intelligence for their satellites. They also have very, very high def satellites, extremely high definition there as well. And one of the catalysts here, I have a good friend that works over at Rocket Lab, and Rocket Lab is an end-to-end space company that specializes in, they have these really cool rockets, they're Neutron, and also they're working on doing launchable, rebuildable, and renewable enabled rockets, which really just puts them in a good position to compete with SpaceX. They've surged tremendously, and one of the recent missions they did was there with BlackSky. So BlackSky here launched with the Electron rockets, their Rocket Lab, their Gen 3 satellites, and you can see that they were launching a constellation of their Gen 3 satellites up into orbit. And so they got more and more satellites up there. They're getting some contracts going, and we could potentially see some things heat up on the financials. Now, as we take a look at the technicals and how things are holding, there is a pretty strong support level there at about $17 a share. It's holding above. It's at 1850, 1850 right now, and we're looking for a recovery. So the greater market, for the most part, we saw some sell-offs today, not in its entirety, but you do see like Redwire was down, Lunar stock was down, and that's part of the market sell-offs. I think AMD was down big. We had a lot of corrections happening, but what we're looking for, if they come in with some good earnings tomorrow, they have about a 14% swing up into $21 a share or a $22 price point. Now, one thing to consider, one of the two biggest mistakes that I have made this year, we have very positive returns. You can see some of the positions: Rigetti, AMD, APLD were up 50%. We were able to catch quantum computing before things took off, Taiwan Semiconductor, NVIDIA. But one of the two biggest mistakes I've made this year have been buying before earnings. So while we'd love to say, yeah, this is the earnings catalyst, hold it through earnings, I wouldn't advise anyone buy before earnings. Why is it? Well, I just did it with AMD, and we ended up having a $5,000 loss. Not anything crazy. Like, we're still up on the month. It's okay, but I'll tell you, to buy before earnings is one of the things that you can't control. Because what happened? AMD came in with good earnings, more revenue, and what happened? The stock still went down. So that's something we can't control. And so a lot of times too, what happens is it's an after hours trade, or a pre-market. So when that move's happening, maybe your orders aren't executing unless you have whole shares and you're doing a limit order at a price that it does get executed at. So it's just so risky, it's just not worth it a lot of times. So that's why I would just advise, while they have their earnings coming up, unless you're holding long term, which we do have some long term positions that no matter what you would hold on to, I don't advise people try and make trades right around earnings. So the first mistake was Tesla earnings. The second mistake was AMD earnings, and Supermicro Computer as well recently, which just, again, we don't know what's going to happen around earnings, and it's not a good time to gamble, you could say, when the market direction is a little shaky at the moment. Now, the value they're providing to the world is very eminent. I would imagine in the long term, we could see some growth. Their financials look fairly good as we see them increase their total assets year over year and quarter over quarter. And so we're watching to see that, as Rocket Lab has surged, we've seen a lot of space tech companies do well. They're still at a $644 million market cap, so relatively small for a space company in their position. And when I went to the conference, I got to talk with Black Sky. I got to talk with Rocket Lab. We talked with Lockheed Martin. And when we were able to have that conversation with them around what they're doing, what's working, what's not working, they seem to be very optimistic about the contracts they were getting, and not just the customers they had with the government, but also the other contracts that were with international defense companies and different agencies they were working with to provide that satellite imagery. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to invest in space companies right now. Is a very, very amazing time to be watching AI. And so they are pretty heavily integrated with AI, which most likely is how we would play them. So on a shorter term trade, why we would trade them very soon is because they're at this support, this $18 price point. Maybe we're looking for, again, that 10% swing to maybe even a 20 to previous highs, 55% return. So we're going to be watching there. And then, obviously, if we're going for 50%, we might manage risk a little differently. We were just in a trade this morning. One way that we trade is with a stock profit calculator. And if you ever want to join our daily live trading sessions, and also you can grab this calculator for free in the first link in the description. You use it as much as you want. It's software. I created it for you if you want to use it. It works best on desktop, not so much on the phone, but on desktop or PC or Mac, it works great. But again, we're trading live this morning, and a lot of times what we do is like we'll enter positions that are focused on profit that is above 10% and managing risk, basically 1/5 of that of our profit, but in the negative. So about -2% in a 10% margin. So, if we're going for this swing right here, it's about a 10 to 12% swing. And so essentially we'd want to manage risk when we get some more confirmation on the support here, start to see that move take place. I think it could be, we could look at earnings, we could look at the support and resistance. When we look at the RSI and the MACD here, it looks oversold, right? So things look maybe more on the buy range, but you do see it holding below that EMA, so that this blue line acts as a resistance when it's bearish, or a support here when it's bullish, right? This blue line, that exponential moving average. Right now it's acting as a resistance and it's trying to bounce the support and push up above that EMA. The RSI and MACD look like a buy as they're oversold. You can see them hovering down. If they were up here, they'd be overbought. If they're down here, they're oversold. So all those things can work in our favor. We'd like to see that. They got the financials, definitely real world usage. I see satellite constellations all the time up in space. I like to observe here from Northern California in the mountains. It's quite awesome to see new launches. But I'll tell you, all those things, the real world usage, the market growing, AI, it's great. But ultimately, what it will come down to, if you're in a shorter term investment, a trade, is going to be looking in managing that risk, having a clear idea of a plan of where you plan to buy and where you plan to sell, and then executing that plan confidently is what allows you to, now you're basing your growth on discipline. And so that allows you to build, more of a solid foundation for those returns. And that's really what's helped us to be able to grow this year. The markets are definitely helping, AI, quantum, and space tech, but definitely just executing the plan has been tremendous. So we're actually up on Black Sky about 42% so far. So we'll be watching there to see if it holds. And we're looking for it to hold this $17 range. For those of you guys that would like to join us again in our live sessions, we do have the earnings targets for all the stocks, along with the time when they're reporting their earnings. If you want to catch those in StockMate, we go live. It's not here on YouTube, but it's actually in StockMate. We go live every morning at market open. If you want to join us there, it's the second link in the description down below. And I'll even send you a free t-shirt if you decide to join lifetime access. Appreciate you all. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button, comment your thoughts below on Black Sky down below, and do consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.